Oh, is it time for a review already? Pretty sure it's February, right? Hey moviegoers, this is the Movie Critic and welcome back to another movie review. Today, the movie I'm going to be reviewing is from Marvel's newest film that starts off Phase 5. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the love that you've given me on my recent movie review of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I did not expect it to get as many views as it did. We got like 100 reviews overnight and now we're sitting at like 316 views, which is mind-blowing, and I am just very glad that you guys really enjoyed the video because it was great. I'm so glad it reached that many people. It was awesome. I just wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you. Before we get into the video, just make sure to smack that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on the side to get information on videos in the near future. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get into the review of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And action!
Scott, you're at ex-con. How are you an Avenger? That doesn't make sense. But everywhere I go, people tell me the same thing.
Thank you, Spider-Man!
Scott, Lang, and Hope Pym, with the involvement of Cassie, Scott's daughter who is not so little anymore, find themselves exploring the quantum realm, interacting with strange new creatures, and embarking on an adventure that pushes them beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. Let's get into the things that I liked about this film. The first thing that I really liked about this film was the visuals. While most of the visuals for the Phase 4 films have been a little hit or miss, this film probably is, in my opinion, like it's a low bar, but it's probably the most interesting MCU looking film since Infinity War. It's cool seeing the quantum realm and the way it is presented in the film, and it really makes me interested in how the quantum realm is represented in the comics. So it was just really cool to be immersed somewhat into the world of the quantum realm with the characters and the creatures that live within it. I just thought it was really cool. The second thing that I liked about this film was the story. For the most part, the film focuses on Janet out of everyone in the Ant fam and her time in the quantum realm, as she stayed there for a very long time, and being like 30 years, and since that time she's made a great amount of friends and foes, with Kang the Conqueror being the main person that she has met in the quantum realm. And it really does create a great deal of tension between those characters and everything, and like we just get to see everything slowly unfold between the family as stuff starts to come out about what she might have done in the quantum realm. And it's just stuff that she kept away from her family for so long, and it's very intriguing to see all of that come out. It's really interesting, but I really did enjoy a lot of things with one specific character. Pretty sure you guys know who. And it leads into my third favorite thing about this film, which is Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Mayer's performance. Ever since he made his first Marvel debut in Loki, I was a fan of his style of acting, and I knew that the character that we got in Loki wouldn't match the Kang that we were going to get in the near future. And I just was really interested in how he would tackle such an intriguing character as Kang the Conqueror. And I can say that he did a very great job making his own iteration of Kang. And I don't think I'm alone when I say it, but I did really enjoy the interactions that he had with the different characters. And it's very intriguing seeing a villain, especially after Phase 4, that isn't really used for jokes, and that most of their dialogue seems serious and sincere and to the point. He is intense, and I am really intrigued as to how Kang will be played out in the future in the next couple of films, and how he'll set up the main plot point for Phase 5 and beyond. I'm very interested. We'll see how it goes. Jonathan Majors is probably one of the best casting decisions for the MCU, and I just can't wait to see how he'll build the character for himself. And lastly, what I liked about this film was the setup. This movie, for it being the first movie of Phase 5, sets up what is going to happen in the MCU from now until later on in the year and after that. And Phase 4 has really been an arc that introduced a lot of characters more so than conflict, when it could have been both. And I don't really think that that's a bad thing, but when you really want your story of your characters to move forward, you have to have something to push it forward. And I feel like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania does a decent job making a setup for the characters in the future to look forward to. And it's just, I really want to see where it goes in terms of the plot of the overall MCU. And after looking at the post-credit scenes, I am really intrigued as to where the story will go, and I'm excited. Now getting into the things that I didn't like, starting off with Catherine Newton's performance as Cassie. This was an unfortunate thing to happen because I really do like the actress. She did a really great job, a phenomenal job in Freaky, and I feel like this was a miscast. I feel like she shouldn't have been the character, and I don't know if she only shot her scenes for a few days, or maybe the writing was just that bad in some cases, but it just felt like for the most part she didn't really have any excitement or any sort of feeling when it came to her lines. And like with Exhibit A, "Dad, no! Dad, please! Fight it! Dad, no! Please! Please! Dad, no!" It's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know why she was chosen. And the actress that was shown in Avengers Endgame, the older version of Cassie in that film, she had much more emotion in that whole entire scene that she was in, and she didn't even have a line of dialogue. Like, how does that even happen? How is that even possible? But I don't, no hate towards Catherine Newton, but like, she's great. She's awesome, and I hope that she gets more films, that this doesn't tarnish anything. But her performance, I feel like she just should have been another character in the MCU and not Cassie. The second thing that I didn't like about the film was the comedy, as it was hit or miss. There are times when the movie would have some funny moments that would make me chuckle, but then there are some that are gags that just didn't work for me and my friends who I watched the film with, which is a shame because when it comes to Ant-Man films, usually they handle comedy pretty well, and sometimes the comedy scenes are sometimes the best part of the film. But I think the Phase 4 effect kind of is sinking in with Ant-Man, with this Ant-Man film. There's some lines that just don't work, and they just don't work. Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas tried the best to make their lines seem funny in some type of way, but it just really, it doesn't work. And going back to the topic of the Phase 4 effect, it did play a huge role in how the comedy felt for this movie, and for reasons of this, the tone of the film was just all over the place. And it just creates a lack of identity, which makes me go into my last point about this film, it didn't feel like an Ant-Man film. This movie doesn't have the same charm as the other two Ant-Man films do, and when people say that this film, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, is the best Ant-Man film, it really makes me wonder if they ever paid attention to the previous films, especially the first, as they both are really intriguing on a visual level and just on like how they are able to make a small scale environment seem so grandiose in a way. The sequences from the first film when Scott Lang shrinks down into an area where it will seem smaller to the human eye, and it just seems so grand and humongous to him because now he's ant-sized. It's some of the most creative things to come out of the MCU, and I wish there were more moments like that in this film. I mean, the first film's climax took place literally in Cassie's room on train tracks, and it was one of the most exciting things ever. It looked so cool, and it took place in such a small area. It didn't take place on a plane in outer space. It didn't take place underwater or in some type of weird alternate dimension. It took place in a little kid's room on train tracks. Like, how we haven't had anything like that since? And it's just, there's other elements too that are missing, and it's like, one of the most important elements that I feel should have been in this movie, but for some reason they didn't have it, is Lewis, Scott's best friend, who isn't in the movie at all, isn't mentioned, isn't noticed. It just doesn't make sense, and I just feel like he should have been in the film, as he has some of the best parts in the original and the sequel, and I just feel like it would have been interesting for him to be in Quantumania. There were a lot of great ideas from the previous films that were taken out of Quantumania just so it takes time to build up the next story of the MCU. And while I don't really mind it, it's kind of hard to really ignore. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is a decent start for the next overarching story of the MCU. With a great performance from Jonathan Majors, awesome visual effects, an intriguing plot surrounding Janet's time in the quantum realm, and a great setup for the future, the film leaves a lot to be desired. But the movie has its problems, such as the lackluster performance from Kathryn Newton as Cassie, comedy that doesn't always stick the landing, issues of finding balance and tone, and losing the things that made Ant-Man films special in the first place. I feel the MCU is slowly learning from the extreme backlash of Phase 4 and wants to make films that leaves fans excited and wanting more, as some fans haven't been hyped for a film since Endgame and recently with No Way Home. For me, this film has left me intrigued for the future MCU films that are connected to KANG. But an okay film can't appease a fan base who has grown tired of mediocre films. It'll take a lot more than that. However, I am optimistic that the MCU will deliver and have fans excited for their films once more. On the Metal Status ranking, I give Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania a gold status. And that's going to do it for this movie review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a little rambly, but I promise I made video notes for it. And I kind of tried to follow off of like what I was writing. But yeah, I am glad that you guys were able to watch it. And if you have watched the film, did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Leave your information in the comments as to what you thought about the film and just what you think of the MCU as a whole in general with Phase 5. I'm interested to see how it'll go. We'll see how it goes. As for now, I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are, moviegoers. This is the Movie Critic, and that's a wrap.